Hello, welcome back to the Great Unexplained Debate. This is a show hosted by myself for the next hour, asking some questions to my selected panel of guests. What we say, you see. This is unedited, it's recorded as live, so everything we say you're getting straight into your front room, or your bedroom, or your bathroom, if you've got a TV in your bathroom. Don't let the plug slip into the bath, because I'll electrocute you. And then we will be joining you on another series on the other side, or from the other side. Not the other channel. I'm going to stop waffling now and interview my guests. First, we've got Phil Wyman here, and I'm very pleased to have Phil here. Founder of Dead Haunted Nights, paranormal investigator, television presenter, and author. Thank you so much for coming in, Phil.
Thanks for having me, Colin.
I know you've got a very, very busy schedule, as does Sarah Woodward. Thank you very much for coming in. I really do appreciate your time. Paranormal expert and founder of White Rose Paranormal. Guys, I really do appreciate you coming, because I know you've got so much to do and it's very difficult to find time to do these things. It takes a lot out of the day. And obviously I've got Fred back next to me, as always, sitting there looking very calm, very demure, demonologist, presenter, author, lovely man, and person who sits next to me in these debates. Thank you guys for coming in. What I wanted to start to talk about today is fake mediums. We've approached the subject before, but it's something that never goes away, because I constantly get emails, I constantly get people contacting us about either having been given fake readings or fake fortunes and all of this, and being charged an awful lot of money for it. Or people have gone to stage shows and seen fake mediums at work. Some of them are extremely well known. And I think it's a shame, personally. I've got my own opinions on mediums, and I think all stage mediumship should be banned, personally. But I'm just going to go one at a time. Sarah, what's your thoughts on mediumship in general?
I think I agree with what you're saying, really. When it comes to stage mediums, then it just doesn't do anything at all for me. We've used mediums on investigations, but as a rule we don't use them. We don't like to plant any suggestion into anybody's heads. I'm kind of on the fence about whether or not mediums do exist and whether they're real or not. I think some do and some don't, but it's very difficult to try and ascertain the difference between the both.
Because it's not an exact science, so it's very difficult to even look at. I mean, I'm happy where I am with it. I think, I don't believe them. Yeah. There are some nice people out there who think they're psychic, and I wouldn't say that they weren't. No, I would say they aren't psychic, but they're nice people. What about you, Phil? What's your standpoint on the medium?
Again, I kind of sit on the fence with it. I have met a couple of mediums who aren't big names. They just do things, for the sake of it, really, not to make any money, not massive amounts of money, and they're really down to earth. And I find that the people that do make a lot of money from mediumship or so-called mediumistic powers, it's totally wrong. I totally agree with what you say about mediums, and I don't. I think fake mediums should be governed to a certain extent, and to a big extent they should be governed, full stop, mediumistic and psychic shows and abilities and that kind of thing.
What do you think, Fred?
Well, we went into this a little bit the other day, didn't we? I think 99.9% of mediums are fake. I would have said 100%, but two that I've met, as I said before, they told me things they could never ever have known in a million years about me. And so I believed them, and it was not just one or two things, it was a lot of things, and they would never have known. So I would say 99.9% of mediums are fake. The only way to really see a decent medium, and some of those are not that good, but in a spiritualist church is the best place to go, where they don't charge you money. But you don't, in a spiritualist church, you just leave a donation. You don't have to pay anybody.
Yeah.
Mediums that come around and want to charge you hundreds or even thousands of pounds.
The trouble is with the spiritualist church that almost makes mediumship a realm of just the spiritualist church, which I think has a great deal of failings, and I'm going to probably annoy a lot of people with that. But it's no secret. I think that there is they have this sort of hierarchy thing about we're in the spiritualist church, and again, none of them have proven that they actually can talk to the dead. A lot of them are very closed circles. I knew someone who was in a spiritualist church, so I won't mention their name, but they insisted to both Yvette and myself that every week they had this sitting circle where the psychic from the spiritual church actually had ectoplasm. We went, come and see it.
Okay.
And it was, yeah, of course you can come and see it. Every time we were going to see it, there was always an excuse. Can we film it? No, you can't film it. If we give you a camera, can you film it? No, they don't like film.
It's like when we were doing Kerrang Radio, you put out the £150,000 to someone that could come to the studio and make extra presents.
If I'd have known that, I would have been there like a shot with my cheesecloth.
Phil automatically came psychic.
Nobody even called or emailed, let alone came in.
I went to psychic school.
Did you?
Yeah, no. I was just testing your abilities there, you see.
Yeah,
no, I knew your psychic abilities. I was testing you as well. But
this is the problem, is that we put out 150 grand for someone to prove they're psychic, and I've still got 150 grand. Well, Fred doesn't know why he put out his 150 grand. It was his car I put on.
It's worth more than that.
But no, it was cheap. It was a cheap value. They were getting a double bubble. But is that it with psychics? Is it the money? Is it the money thing? Because I know there's two people in America. I can't remember what their names are. They put $1 million out for someone to go and prove that they're psychic. And my huge argument here is, I know that these fake psychics out there, the first thing they'll say is, well, we don't do it for the money, which is rubbish. Yeah. They do it for the money. But I could get £1 million, prove you're psychic, show the world that psychics do exist, which will do a great thing for psychic ability around the world, and give the money to charity. Everybody benefits.
The thing that kind of annoys me about it is when you set a challenge like that, most mediums that you approach with it will say, why do I need to prove it? I don't need to prove anything.
But they do need to prove it, that's the point.
I'm happy with the people I'm giving readings to, and they're happy with what I'm telling them, so why should I need to? And that's the big problem, isn't it? That's the big problem.
Yeah, it is, but I think that the reason I'm happy is almost ignorance is bliss. And there's that point where if someone is walking away from someone after paying 10, 20 quid or 50 quid, whatever it is they charge, that they can walk away with being read a load of Barnum statements and basically being duped into believing that this person's talking to one of their dead relatives. These people are happy because they're in ignorance, and of course the psychic's happy because they're making a fortune out of just making stuff up.
I mean, you say you get charged like 10, 20 quid. I mean, that might not sound an awful lot, but when you say and find out they're having like 10, 15, 20 readings a day that they can cram in over a 7-day period, that soon works out to be quite a heck of a lot of background cash, doesn't it?
A lot of these people who go there, they're people who can't afford 10 or 20 quid and a lot of them don't do it once, they'll do it every week or they'll do it a couple of times a week. I know people who've spent fortunes on psychics, and I think that it's so open to abuse, and I think there's like I say, I think psychics should be banned. I certainly think stage psychics should be banned now, very quickly. It's very easy to do because there's no proof that they do it. You have 1,000 people coming in there paying 20 quid a ticket to see somebody standing up on stage who might give 3, 4, 5 readings to people. How the rest of those 2,000 people know that they're not their friends, they're not plants, they're not... I can stand up in front of 2,000 people saying, I've got a mechanic, I'm getting someone with tools. Does that mean anything to anyone? I can guarantee I'll probably get 10, 15 hands up with that. Does the name Bob mean anything? Okay, what about Rob? What about Pete? Oh, Pete, yeah, that's what he's telling me, not Bob, it's Pete. I can do that. And and when you think of how much money they can earn, 2,000 people at 20 quid a head, 40 grand, and they take 80% of that box office.
I think
that's a lot of money.
I think anybody can do that, given the amount of people they're standing in front of, and what they're saying, how they're phrasing it. It's going to apply to certainly a lot of people in the audience.
Oh, it is, absolutely. We're going to come back to this as soon as we come back from this break. Please don't go away. Join us with more revelations on mediumship. Hello, and thank you for joining us again. We're here on the Great Unexplained Debate talking about fake mediums. We have different degrees of belief in what that actually means, whether that's all of them, some of them, or a small amount of them. Personally, I think they're all fake. That's my opinion, and I'm going to stick with it. But do you believe, Sarah, that there is such a thing as a medium? Do you believe mediums do exist?
I can't say that I believe or disbelieve because nobody's proved it to me. I'm one of these people that I will only believe if I get something there solid in front of me. They can't prove that it doesn't, and they can't prove that it does. The only thing that I will say when we go back to stage mediumship is you get a lot of people that go and they pay the money and they walk away from that night entertained. surely then you could turn the tables and say, these people, do you think that they're quite naive, that they've gone in there knowing, you know, that they're going to see a psychic? Are they naive to believe them, or?
Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, if I go in and buy a telly and I bring it home and it doesn't work, and I spend an entertaining evening trying to make it work, and I take it back the next day and I say to you, this £10 TV doesn't work, you go, yeah, but you had an entertaining night getting it to work, didn't you? It still didn't work. It's the point that, I know what you're saying, and but you know, it's still fakery. If someone says to you, you can have a ticket to London, from Nottingham to London, and you get on the train and it takes you to Glasgow, it'll be an adventure and it'll be entertaining, but it'll be the wrong place and it's not what you paid for. And I think that this is the thing with media. I don't mind them doing like a stage mediumistic show like Darren Brown does.
Yeah.
You know, and I think, great, do that, but make it say this is a fake show. I'm going to show you how these psychics do it, rather than walking away. I think it's very dangerous to walk away thinking, I've just had my gran or my brother or my auntie talking to me when you haven't.
Firstly, is it entertaining being on a train? And secondly, because I don't believe it is. Secondly,
next to.
Well, yeah, I suppose the window normally. That says an awful lot. And secondly, should stage mediumship shows have a disclaimer on the bottom saying basically that this show's for entertainment purposes?
Okay, on the same point, because fraud is a crime, and I think when you're saying to people like come to the stage mediumistic show, come see me, I talk to the dead, I'm a psychic, which means I talk to your dead relatives. Therefore, would it be okay for us all to have T-shirts that says, I might just burgle your house when you're not in it? Would that let you get off with it? Go, well, I warned you.
Well,
you know, it's that point of almost saying, like, I'm preempting, there may be a crime here, but it's almost like, well, come in at your own. This is where this Fraudulent Mediums Act came in, and everyone's putting, this is for entertainment purposes. Right. It's thrown it straight back at the
But the people
customer.
go back again, though, don't they?
I know, because they don't know any better. A lot of them think that, you know, if you read a Barnum statement, and let's face it, we all know what they are. We've all seen them. We've all get these broad expanse of terms that you're given, these sentences that you're given, that you can actually eat up. You know, you'll sit there. We're of a certain point where we would question it, but when you go and you pay 20 quid for one of these comedians, as I like to call them, that they do their thing on stage. They're not talking to the dead. They are taking your 20 quid, but you believe they are. And I've seen the devastation that can cause from old people, you know, from the elderly, I should say, trying to want to talk to their husband that they've lost, and they've been for 60 years, and they've gone, and they walk away. It doesn't matter whether they're happy, thinking, they've lied to them,
that's just,
and they've taken 20 quid.
That's just cruel, isn't it? Really.
I mean, if any of us went down the street and actually just took 20 quid off an old person and lied to them, we'd be banged up.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, what kind of is going through the medium's mind when they're doing this kind of thing, knowing, and I'm damn sure that a lot of mediums obviously know that they haven't got any abilities. So what is going through their heads when they think, I'm going to tell this old lady or old man or this chap or this woman this information and walk away with 20 quid, even though I know what I'm giving them is absolute rubbish. What's going through? I mean, what are they feeling when they think about that?
They're feeling nothing.
They can't be, can they?
They can't be. If you knowingly take money from someone that you know you're not giving them what you ask. I mean, it seems to me almost the only job you can do, and I use the job loosely because I think crime is already a job, but that you can do where you don't have to give what you're promising to give. If someone gives you you go to someone for a reading and you give them your 20 quid, they can give you 20 minutes of waffle, and none of it could be true. You won't get your 20 quid back. You can't go back to next year and go, come because a lot of us wouldn't even bother. And by that time, you've seen a lot of us.
I wonder if anybody's ever tried going to trading standards afterwards, if the medium was wrong.
But the trouble is now it's put back on the victim, as I like to call him. It is because the psychic will say, "I'm giving you this information. It's up to you to decide whether it's from a spiritual source or not." That gets them off the hook because it's down to you. Because then they can say, "Well, no, I said it's up to you to decide whether it's a spiritual source or not."
Could you imagine if there was such a governing body for people to go and complain to afterwards, if they've had a dodgy medium reading and they don't like it? Can you imagine what kind of chaos that would cause for these chaps who are doing this?
But I think, but maybe if there was some sort of board, some regulatory board that actually, and I don't know who that would be. That's the problem, because this paranormal thing is so disjointed, and everyone seems to want to be jumping at each other's throats just for a little bit.
Well, the board would probably be decided from the major psychic groups, like the Spiritualist Association of Great Britain or something like that.
I would be the first to deny that. I would be the first to say no.
Well, that's the fakes doing the fakes, or it could be. So you wouldn't get a board, and a normal layman couldn't be the board.
But there are fakes in the Spiritualist Church.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So you might get fakes judging fakes. If you had a layman board where people like us, how do you know if a medium's true or not? You just don't know.
The problem is people like us. You couldn't have us because no one will recognise the board, because obviously there are other paranormal groups. You guys have got two very successful paranormal groups, and they've got great names, and they do really good work. And but there are the ones that aren't doing what you do, and are maybe their means of they get their activity by fairly dubious means that wouldn't accept, if you guys were on it, wouldn't accept it. They certainly wouldn't accept me on it, and they wouldn't accept you on it, because we've all got some TV presence as well. So it's like, well, why should they be on the board? And then you'd even be more disjointed. You couldn't have people who have nothing to do with the paranormal, because they could easily be duped.
I reckon you should head it.
I know, because I'd bring back hanging for fake mediums. I just would, because it would kind of really sort the men out from the boys, wouldn't it? If you give a bad reading, you will be taken from here to a place of execution where you should be hung by your fake neck until you are black cap.
Stop them lying.
Every medium sitting should be, next to them there should be a guy with a gun. Do you agree to this reading? What was that like? Was it accurate?
Or what was the term they used? Can you take that? Can you take it? No, can you take it? But this is what I mean about it. It's whole thing. I mean, I think that fake mediums, I think, are the scum of the earth. I mean, I think they really are the scum of the earth.
When you kind of break it down, because they know, again, we're going back to the point where they know full well what they're doing. And they're making shed loads of money from it. Certainly in this day and age, a lot of people do. So what would you class somebody that does that, knowing what they do is totally wrong, and robbing people?
Well, they're manipulating people at the most vulnerable. Usually the bereaved, usually the elderly. That's what they're usually going
Someone
for.
who's looking for comfort.
So
it's always that.
It makes them more gullible.
You have to remember is that a lot of psychics, people go to the psychic. So if you're going to a psychic, you're already there. He or she has got you there. And the trouble is, there's no way of. I mean, the reason that I know when you said earlier about you don't believe because you don't believe yes or no because you've not had anything personal. See, I come from a point of view where I used to believe. I mean, I actually used to believe in psychics completely. I mean, normally it's the other way around, is you don't believe and then you get some reading you believe. I used to believe in them. And because of my experiences, I actually don't believe in any of them. I have been given readings, the most ridiculous readings you could ever have seen or heard. I mean, it's just, obviously stuff that's on the internet.
Yeah, I've got to say, the danger you run the risk of is that you're fairly well known. You've got a fairly well known face. Crowd watch,
good
all that
looking.
kind of thing. Yeah. So I mean, probably 9 times out of 10 mediums, if you walked in for a reading, they'll probably know who you are. Because let's be honest, like a lot of people who are interested in the paranormal, mediums would, I'm sure, be interested in the paranormal. Therefore, you probably watch programs that you produce.
So he'd walk in and they'd say to him, "You don't believe in this, do you?"
Very good.
That would be right, though, wouldn't it?
But isn't it weird that almost means? I mean, when you think of it, we're all known for what we do. We're all known in the areas that we. So basically, the 4 people around this table are almost unreadable from a psychic perspective.
Almost, yeah.
Because you couldn't go to because literally they would know. They know of your group. They know of what you do. So they would know about you. And at the back of your mind, even if it was a good reading, you'd think we must know the same sort of people. So therefore, they could have easily found that out. But there's in all of us, the one thing that makes us that 0.1% readable is there is something in our lives that we've either forgotten about and we need nudging, or we've kept a secret.
Yeah.
Whatever that is, I don't, it's. I know you've got a lot of secrets, but
Really?
but do you know what I mean? And if that's all they need to do, and one psychic only need come up to me and tell me one thing that either I've forgotten or something I know I've not told anyone else, and I will believe them.
Yeah.
But they won't, because I think, in my opinion, they are all fake.
Yeah.
I mean, they're nice ones. They're people I've been working with that are really lovely, and they truly do believe they're psychic. And I think those are the people that should be allowed to continue
Exactly, yeah.
and develop their work, because they're the ones who could possibly prove me wrong.
They're not the ones shouting from the highest steeple about how good they are and how much money it's going to cost you to come and see them.
Yeah.
Absolutely, no. I just think there's an area we need to go to with this psychic thing. And we're not there yet. I think the Fraudulent Mediums Act, when that was, we've been campaigning for that for years to be changed. And when we were told it was going to be changed, we honestly thought, fantastic, this is going to.
So what does the Act say now then? What
Basically, as long as you say it's for entertainment purposes only.
Oh, I see. And when did that come up?
A couple of years ago now.
Yeah, I think it was a couple of years ago. It's updated, wasn't it? Or something?
Yeah, I mean, you had the usual response. Yeah.
Is that not just for TV then, for anything?
For anything.
Yeah, for anything. Yeah.
But they just put it straight. That's when they put it straight back onto the victims. But they've got there's two. Well, there are three reactions. There's two you need to discount. There's the ones that obviously, when this is ridiculous, you can't do this, are obviously fake. The ones that, when this is fantastic, this will prove us all real, fake.
Yeah.
It's the ones that were quiet and didn't care, because they're the ones who believe they are real and have nothing to hide.
Just get on with it.
Absolutely nothing to hide. And this is, I want to talk about this question of testing mediums, because that's another thing that I've often tried to do, but it's very difficult to get a medium to be tested. But join us after the break. We'll only be away for a couple of minutes, and we'll be right back. Hello and welcome back to the Great Unexplained Debate. I've got Sarah, Phil and Fred with me, and we're talking about fake mediumship, or fake mediums in general. I was going to talk about the testing of mediums. Now, this is a real bone of contention with me, because I won't say who, but I used to have one psychic who was constantly asked to be tested, and in front of the people who wanted to test him would say, yeah, absolutely, test me, test me, test me. As soon as they walked away, he would come up to me and say, can you tell them I can't do it? I can't do it because it's wrong, I can't do this or that. So me as the producer of this particular person had to go and tell the other people, because I was sticking up for the people that work for me, which I always do. And I said, unfortunately, I can't allow him to do it because he's too busy. But that was someone who was afraid of being tested. The other thing you get is, I can't be tested in a clinical environment. I can't be tested, and I can't just turn it on and turn it off. Again, my arguments are, I've always said to every psychic, you pick the venue. And let's go to a haunted house where you've done a show with us, or where we know is haunted. Let's go to a theatre where you've done a stage show, perhaps, where you've picked stuff up before. Let's go there. And for the turning on, turning off thing, is when I'm paying them, they seem to be able to turn it on and turn it off very, very well.
It's canny, that, isn't it?
And when they go to a theatre show, because everyone's paid them and they're earning 30, 35 grand a night, they can sit there and go, cool, I'm turning this on now. So I'm just wondering whether money is tied into mediumship, whether you can turn it on and turn it on, but the energy of money turns mediumship on. I don't know.
It's like you say, isn't it? Especially you just mentioned mediums that do these performances in front of audiences, turning it on and turning it off. You don't have the audience waiting in the wings for the medium then to go, 5 minutes, I'll be all right. I'll be all right, 5 minutes. Right, it's on, come on, I'm ready to go. You don't have that.
I just think there are so many ways they can do it. There are so many. I mean, we touched on this before, but there are so many ways psychics can get information about anyone. Your credit card. As soon as you pay for a ticket on your credit card, they've got it. The things of buying on auction sites. I mean, there's these allegations of some mediums, when their stage shows sell out, they actually buy the first 2 rows of seats themselves and sell them on auction sites for more money, so they're actually duping their victims out of even more than normal. And if that is the case, if that's what they're doing, I mean, that even makes them even more despicable to whatever they do. But once you've got the credit card details, you can get information on anybody. Think of the queues outside. All you need is one person to talk to you in a queue and say, oh, God, I want to see this person for ages and ages and ages. I hope he picks up on my grandma. Who does you hope he picks up on you? Blah, 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 blah. Oh, my name's Carl. You're like, yeah, fine. You write it down on a piece of paper, banging. Yeah. And of course you've got there are people out there who will say yes to anything. You've got your plants out there, which the other people in the audience wouldn't even know are there. And if you're earning 30 odd grand a night, you can easily pay a plant £1,000, and they will keep quiet for £1,000 an evening. So there's so many ways they can do it, and none of it is psychic. I've seen it all, and I don't believe that they talk to the dead.
Again, what you just said, I remember watching a programme years back about a psychic show, and how brilliant this chap was, bringing out all the members of the audience, telling them bits and pieces about them and the house and all that kind of thing. And then it actually showed you how they went and did it. They had somebody canvassing on the doors to these people, obviously got the information from when they bought the tickets, canvassing on the doors to these people, looking at the house when they walked around, looking at the gardens, picking out, noting things, giving the information onto the guy, and it wasn't a serious thing. It was actually done so they could show you how it was, how they did it. And again, that's with you just saying that, it just reminded me of what I'd seen. So there are many ways you can do it. If you're desperate enough, shall we say, there are many ways you can do it.
But also there's these ridiculous gallery shows that the mediums call them, where they've got an audience and they're standing and talking to people. I mean, I think they should be banned because people at home don't realise they're a heavily edited show. These aren't live; these are edited shows. And you kind of think these people walking away crying their eyes out, going, "Oh, I can't believe he got me."
This is the one with the medium with an audience, an audience.
Yeah, just with an audience.
There was one on recently where a dog came through. Did you see that? A very well-known medium, not unknown to us.
Again, you get that point of, when you get down to the dregs of the barrel and channeling dogs, or getting possessed by dogs, or whatever you want to call it. This is the other thing. There's always
to the audience, does anybody know this dog? One said yes.
There's always a way. There's always a way around it where you get this. There's a negative to every positive, so they'll come up with they're getting possessed, and then you talk about possessions, I can get possessed easy. Then suddenly on the internet, they all start having a go about being possessed, and then the medium go, no, it's not possession, it's channeling. It's completely different. Yeah. I still speak in a funny accent, and I don't speak, and I don't know anything that person would know.
That always makes me laugh. That when they're saying, I'm speaking to, I've got somebody from a Roman soldier coming through, and he speaks in perfect English lingo. You know what I mean? And why is that? And exactly, go on, Fred. How would a medium interpret what a dog is saying to them? You
had to see it to believe it, and it's a medium we all know.
Right.
Very well known.
Right.
Probably the most well known. And they showed it on Harry Hill's. Is it Harry Hill? His show.
Right.
Yeah. They showed it on there, and this dog, the medium started barking. And he said, "Does anybody recognise this dog?" And somebody did in the audience.
But how would a dog speak to you in such a way that you would understand it? This is what I'm trying to say.
But that just says that it's really what people want to believe as well, isn't it? They want to believe that their dog came through, or their grandma, or their cousin, or whatever.
I bet that particular medium couldn't tell one specific time that owner had with a dog. I mean, they'd probably go through the, if they had a private reading, it'd be like, I'm getting a ball, and he's throwing a ball. He seems to want to run after, he's throwing it, he's dropping it at your feet. Nothing specific like, actually,
he's just cocked his leg at me.
I remember that there was that TV show, which I thought was superb, with Shirley Ghostman.
Oh, right, yeah.
Now, there was something on there which was a kind of in joke with us, because a certain medium that we were working with came up with the ghost of a unicorn. Yeah, that was a specific place. Now, that actually didn't go out on air.
Why not?
There were other things that were better to go out, I think. Yeah. And this Shirley Ghostman recorded their show about a week after that show was recorded, and Shirley Ghostman came in riding a unicorn. And it was great, because all of us, we were texting each other straight away, going, "Have you seen Shirley Ghostman?" They obviously knew. Yeah. And it was just bizarre. But But there is, it's easy to take the mickey out, and we are being very negative towards psychics, and there are the few out there that really are
interesting,
think they're real,
yeah.
and they do it. But I was watching a show earlier this week with I think for me is almost a typical psychic. He looked like the typical psychic. A guy called Paul Williams, or his stage name was Paul Duran, Deaaran. The only thing I really got out of the show at first was he can't spell psychic because his number plate was S1KEC. Anyway, but apparently he duped people out of their money. He took one lady out of she had left him her house, and he threw out all of her elderly tenants after he got the house. Now she didn't leave this to her family; she left it all to him. And apparently the will had been written only 4 months after they'd met. That's what it said on the TV show. Now this Paul Williams guy, he's there's a shot of him, and what got me was it reminded me of 99% of every medium I've met. He's sitting on a couch, he's giving it the usual waffle about the other side, about how spiritual that is, and this poor old lady is sitting next to him, and he says, in fact I actually wrote down what he actually said. He said, "This is my adopted," he holds her hand, he says, "This is my adopted mother, and very precious to me." And the look on that poor lady's face, when he took his hand away, she clenched her own hands and her eyes were closed, almost like, I've been touched by Jesus. It was that kind of almost a spiritual thing. And this lady was, she became ill and sadly died, but he got her house. Her family didn't. He got her house. Got rid of her lodgers, but the deception didn't stop there. Because he went after one of her lodgers, who he put into a home, who was blind or going blind, and he took this. This guy called Jerry Rowley was the guy he took for all his money, but he took almost £7,000 out of this man's account, which he had saved for its own burial. Now this is a disabled elderly gentleman. This piece of scum. I'm sorry, that's all he is. I was getting funnily enough, I showed a picture of him first on the TV. He looked very, very similar to another psychic. I went, ah! And I thought they got him at last, but it was somebody else. But this is he did this. He took one person, then took another, and it was this guy actually. Jerry actually called the police, and it was the first time they were caught him. But he took somebody else for their money. Now, this was somebody he'd known for a long time. I'll shorten this out because it's going on for too long, but took somebody, and her husband died. And suddenly he went back to console her, to comfort her, because her husband had died. And he said to her, "You need to look in the you need to look in the grandfather clock. Your husband came to me in a dream and is telling me to look in your grandfather clock. What does that mean?" Typical medium thing with the grandfather clock right in front of him. I don't understand it. I'm getting grandfather clock. What does that mean? Goes to the grandfather clock and strangely picks out a new will out of the grandfather clock, which leaves him half the money. And this poor trusting lady goes to the bank and gives him half the money. When she goes on holiday to get over the loss of her husband, he steals the checkbooks, forges a signature, and basically uses most of the money. It's only when she came back she realised it had gone, that she called the police, and the police kind of cracked down, and they came. I mean, I think it's the lowest and cruelest of crimes what he did. I mean, to take the vulnerable, the elderly, the bereaved, and to take their money as well, pretending that you can talk to their dead partners. But he was taken to Wolverhampton Crown Court. He actually admitted the forgery of the will, admitted the deception for Joyce Hutton and Jerry Rowley. He was given 18 months. 18 months. But the biggest insult, he served 4.
Yeah, with that, again, slightly offshoot, but that doesn't surprise me in this day and age, to be honest. But I mean, who were watching these people though? I know this guy obviously wormed his way in and all this kind of thing. And did they have relatives? You say?
Yeah. Well, the first lady that he got the house from. Yeah. She didn't have any children, which is obviously the perfect target.
Well, yeah.
But she had cousins and she had other family. But of course, he's in there, and these people are very good. He's ingratiated himself into her into her life. And when her family went to the hospital when she was put in the first time, her family turned up and they said, "Oh, don't worry, her son's with her." And it was her other family said she hasn't got any sons. And she said, "Oh, yes, she has. It's Paul." And then when he got this guy, apparently her cousin said, "Yeah, what's going on?" He said, "She likes to call me her son. I'm the son she never had." I mean, scum, absolute scum. But we'll continue this after the break because I'm getting upset, and I'll see you in a couple of minutes. Bye-bye. Hello and welcome back to the Great Unexplained Debate. We are talking about fake psychics. I've just been talking about a guy, Paul Williams, who was on the television this week, talking about his deception and the way he took a lot of money off of some poor, elderly, vulnerable people, and how disgusting I think it is. More disgusting, I think he only served 4 months, which kind of, it's a little bit topical, but it puts into perspective. You take Ronnie Biggs. You know, you've got a man there who stole some money from the government, from the Royal Mail, and yet he wants 30 years. And you've got a man here who stole a lot of money. In comparison, these people can't afford this money, where the government probably could have done, or the Royal Mail certainly could have done. He gets 30 years, and this guy gets 18 months, and he's out in 4. And it kind of shows that. I mean, who would you rather be next to you? Living next to your house, Ronnie Biggs or Paul Williams?
Yeah, it just goes to show. It goes to show, doesn't it, in all those years, how much again, slightly off topic, but how much the justice system's changed.
Yeah, absolutely.
Really
I mean, this guy. I mean, apparently he said he's not going to do any more. He's not doing psychic readings anymore. But that's because he didn't have any psychic abilities in the first place, in my opinion. But this is the type of. I mean, this is the dregs. This is the dregs of the barrel. But we're talking of amounts of money here. We're talking of people having their life savings robbed from them and all of that, which is kind of emotive in itself. But is it not? It's a similar thing when people are just taking 20 quid off if you're giving you a fake reading in a stage show.
When you boil it down to its simplest terms, it is, isn't it?
It's still fraud. It's still deception.
Yeah.
How do we stop it?
And there's still a lot of emotional damage involved, isn't there, as well?
Yeah, I mean, as I said, a lot of the psychics I've worked with have actually made me, desperate in this attempt to stop them doing it to other people. Because I've been in that point where I've been given readings that have been wrong, and yet when people are telling me, or asking me what the hell the reading went, I'll make it up. I fill in the gaps myself because I don't want to be duped. I don't want to be seen to have been duped by a psychic.
Yeah.
And then you stop and you go, hold up, no, that wasn't what they said. What they actually said was this, which means nothing whatsoever.
Yeah.
How do we stop it? How do we stop it? I mean, we've kind of worked out we can't get we wouldn't agree on a board.
No.
But how can that be stopped?
It's very difficult, isn't it? Unless you kind of outlaw it totally and make it an offence to practice medium.
The only way to do it
is
as you know, I'm in the nightclub business as well. What happened about 10 years ago, I think it was, they banned hypnotism on stage.
Yeah.
And you had to get a license from each local council, granted a license to a venue to hold hypnotism shows. And most of them won't grant it. I couldn't get one.
So you can still do hypnotist shows? I didn't think you could.
If you can get a license, but you have to get it from the council, and it's very hard to get.
But this is the other thing. You'll know more about this. About if we're calling, or if psychics are calling their stage shows entertainment, which is they're saying it's an entertainment show, which is the Fraudulent Mediums Act and all that. Well, don't they need an entertainment license?
Not if the venue's got it, no.
I suppose theatres would have that.
Yeah. The thing is, if
what about personal readings?
I don't think. Oh yeah. I mean, if they were to advertise this is for entertainment only, personal readings or stage shows, why do people go?
Yeah,
it's because they still. I mean, this guy here, this Paul Williams. I want to get off it because it actually even talking about it makes me want to have a shower. But even some people that he did all this to, they still believe he's psychic.
Yeah, they
That's
do.
the thing, you've got to
right.
get past the fans as well, because obviously there's well-known mediums out there that we know are fake, that have been proven to be fake, and yet you've got everybody
Still
out
got
there
the fans,
that are just such a big fan base that are,
still the believers,
that are backing them up anyway.
I mean,
So you've got to get past that as well.
But you go back to and I'm not literally going after just any old people. I mean, this guy deserves it. I think of what he's done, he should be hounded by everyone until he's paid the money back. He never paid any of this money back. These people never got their money back.
Yeah, because most of the time they either can't afford to take it on a personal kind of prosecution basis, so you don't get any money back.
And he lived in a huge house.
Well,
a huge house by a lot.
Yeah, or he served his time and then that's it.
Yeah, and I think it's disgusting. But you've got to go back to, again, this is from a report in Psychic News, and it's revolving around a medium, shock sitters witnessed physical medium Lincoln standing in the middle of a room holding a spirit trumpet. And it's a fairly famous thing. Now I'm going to just cut this down. This is actually a report from the Psychic News, where they've reported that that Colin Fry, working under the pseudonym of Lincoln, was in some sort of sitting circle. It was in 1993. It was in the Psychic News between November 1992 and April 1993, where the trumpet incident occurred, where apparently somebody either turned some lights on or turned their torches on when a trumpet was floating around a room, where Lincoln was supposed to be tied to a chair, was seen standing there. It says here, one of the people said, the singing light came on, said Mrs. Allen, suddenly flooding the room with light. And there was Lincoln standing in front of me, she stated. He was holding a trumpet in the air with his own hand. Now, that's somebody who's gone on, he's still practicing, he's still on the television, he's doing it now. I'm not, this isn't to have a go at one person, it's not that at all, I'm talking about a specific incident. But, is it our duty, should we forgive? If someone does something wrong, I mean, okay, there's lots of things there. That one of the explanations for this is it was the spirits that made him do it.
Right.
Which again, I think is complete, in my opinion, absolutely ludicrous.
Perhaps it was a unique way of blowing his own trumpet.
I think you could do that ever since. But this, I mean, there's even stuff here about they analysed the straps that were cut, and it actually says, just again, I'm kind of just editing this right down. It said, Lincoln's bonds analysed at a cost of £200, but results say little. I mean,
so his bonds were cut from. Was he strapped to a chair? You say, and they were cut.
They were cut. Yeah. I mean, we all know how we can do it. I'm not saying he did cut it. There's a possibility, although I don't believe it, that it could be a spiritual source. And this isn't about go at him. That's all done and in the past, and it'll always be with him. So that's kind of what you're paying for, that sort of thing. But should we? If someone does something wrong once, should we go, you know what, if you own up to it and say, look, I'm under pressure, I've done this, I've done that, and let them carry on? Or, when they're found to be fraudulent once, should they not be allowed to practice?
Yeah, not be allowed to practice.
Yeah, I mean, let's be honest, if you've been caught out once, you're always, those people that are watching or involved or have been taken in, you're always going to have the thought in the back of your mind that he's going to do it again. And
I have to say, I mean, there's absolutely no evidence at all, certainly with Colin, that he's done anything like that since.
No, but generalisation.
But I think that, I mean, in my opinion, I feel so strongly about it. I think to be a murderer, you only have to murder one person. To be a burglar, you only have to rob one house. To be a car thief, you only have to steal one car.
You haven't got a parole period, have you?
To be a fraudulent medium, do you only have to be fraudulent once?
Yeah.
It's a question.
But he did that under a different name, so probably a lot of people don't even realise it's him, do they?
Yeah, well, it's on the internet. I mean, it's.
But I mean, the audience that go and see.
No, they probably don't.
They probably don't even know.
And like I say, it's old news, and I don't want to sort of go on. It's not about him. It's about the situation that someone can actually have be in a psychic circle and do something. But how much is that going on around the country? How long is that constantly going on now? Well, we're sitting here somewhere in the country of the world where you've got people coming in and paying great deals of money for these people. And you see something floating. I mean, we all would. That's our holy grail of what we're looking for, is to be around a seance table and something comes floating across the table. You go, wow! Imagine someone turns the light on. You've got the psychic who's supposed to be tied to a chair going. Anyway, we've got to finish this now. Sorry, we've run out of time yet again. It's gone too fast. But please, I'd like to say thank you very much to Sarah, Phil, and Fred. Thanks for joining me, and please come back again and join us next time on the Great Unexplained Debate. See you soon. Bye bye.